On today's show, we have a very special guest, Darbi Brisbon, and we are going to talk a little bit about her business, and goal setting. Let's go ahead and get started. All right. How you doing, Darbi?
Good. How are you doing, Mike?
Good. Good. Thank you so much for coming onto the show today. I really appreciate you taking out the time of your busy schedule. How are
You
things
bet. It's my
going?
pleasure. It's good. It's going well. How about for yourself?
Busier than I've probably ever been, but
Shoot.
that's a good problem.
Yeah, I guess.
Well, good. So, why don't you go ahead and tell everybody about yourself a little bit?
I am a life coach and I mainly focus on young adults
Hmm.
from the ages 16 to 26. I help young adults make decisions, important decisions really in their life. So things like where to go to college, um, what's my relationship? What kind of relationship should I be in with my parents, with another person, with friends, with teachers, those sorts of things. Decisions on housing and you name it, the
Wow.
tough stuff that happens within those 10 golden years. I
Yes, the
don't know why
critical
we
years,
don't call
really.
those the golden years.
Probably the most critical
Um,
years. That's when everyone starts getting hit up with credit card offers and whatnot.
Totally. Yes.
So
So,
why did you pick 16 to 26 as your focus?
um, quite honestly, I'll work with folks that are younger and folks that are older. I
Hmm.
simply wanted to narrow it down so I personally could get main focused on the area where I feel like I would have needed it the most and where I see people needing it the most.
Hmm.
Um, I do still have some clients come to me and they're like, my kid's like 13 to 14. Will you? I've even worked with, I want to say he was 10 years old. So I've worked with all kinds of
Wow.
or younger children, even
Hmm.
and older like couples. I've worked with couples before, so I can work with anybody, but I try to keep my niche fairly small so I can keep a focus. Because if I focused on life coaching everybody, the sky's the limit,
Oh yeah.
and I can't do it
Yeah.
all.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
yeah,
So, what are kind of some of the things that you run into with this age group that they need coaching for?
a lot. So some of them come to me and they know logically what they'll need as far as I need to do step one, two, and three, and A, B, and C. They don't actually think about the why behind it.
Hmm.
So they're doing a lot of things because they think they should, or they've been told this is the way to be successful and you want to be successful in this way. They haven't actually sat down and thought, what's my idea of successful? And what do I want to do to get there? Just they're not slowing down or in
Mm.
a mindset at that age to even be capable of doing that yet. And then a lot of us as adults, I don't know whether we don't have the information either or we're too busy or what the thing is, it's not being taught in school. It's not
Right.
really even being taught anywhere.
Right.
So we don't have those conversations.
Yeah, that's man. I wish I would have had a coach growing up because when I was really
Right.
little, I had saved like these little birds from drowning in my pool, and it was really cool. I was like 8, something like that, and I decided I'm going to be a veterinarian,
There
and
you go.
yeah, that's what I'm gonna do with my life. So I knew I was gonna go through medical school and all that kind of stuff, and then once I actually hit college, I think I changed my major 4 times before deciding going in just into business. And so it was
Yeah,
completely different than what I had decided. But I thought I had everything drilled out, and this is how life is gonna go, and this is my plan, and nothing's gonna stop. Everything's gonna go according to plan, just fine.
totally. All the time.
Yeah, which it never
Mhm.
does, never.
Right.
And so
Yeah.
I guess what would I guess a session with someone like me, a younger me, I guess, what would that look like? Where I'm like, oh yeah, I'm dead set on becoming a vet, or
Mhm.
eventually it was also then pediatrician, and then pediatric cardiologist, and then health administration, whatever, and then business. But I guess thinking I had something so set out and all that kind of stuff, what would be kind of the thing that you would suggest for someone who was like me?
First, I would have you do what I call a thought download or a brain dump and
Mm,
tell me all the things you want to accomplish, all of the everything. And we just get it all out on paper. Because a lot of things, a lot of times I tell my clients, I'm not here to judge your brain. I'm most definitely not here to tell you what to do. I am sitting on the bench with you. We're
mm-hmm,
looking at the playbook and we're deciding what the best moves are for this moment, right?
mm-hmm,
Together. And so we just get it out there and we look at the whole thing. And from there, we're able to, it's really something that skipped over even in my adult age. I didn't learn this until I started doing life coaching myself and was taught by my coach
mm-hmm,
what we call the model. So I teach folks something called the model that gets your thought out there and then it shows you by your thought, then you can start identifying, okay, when I think this particular thought or think about things in the future or have these particular goals, what's the feeling that's driving it? And is there a
mm-hmm,
feeling that I would need to come up with that would actually drive my goal even harder? And then it will give me the actions and my results, right?
mm-hmm,
So that's how we work through everything. It goes for goals, it goes for career, it goes for school, relationships, everything. I use the model to do everything. My clients, the model, I teach them how to put all of their life in it because I want to give a man fish. I want to teach somebody how to fish
mm,
because you'll want to take this into your life. And then if I can teach somebody, they can teach others. And here's the thing, I'll never be a job because I've been doing this for many years and I've been involved in looking into the modern the work that I use.
mm-hmm,
And I can't even see sometimes the thinking errors, I guess I would call them, that I have. I'm always being coached as well. And I'll have a coach say this, and this. It's like, oh my word, I am doing that. Oh my gosh, I am thinking that. So it's really powerful to have another human be able to see your mind and then tell it to you like, this is what you're saying. And you're like, no, I'm not saying that. And then they're like, well, you actually are. So
yeah,
it's that concept. You can't read the label on the bottle
mm-hmm.
from the inside. It's that
Absolutely.
concept.
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
definitely feel like I myself, and I think a lot of people feel that way too, especially if you are, I don't know, I think a lot of entrepreneurs struggle with it because you have
Yeah.
these ideas. I've had a lot of sleepless nights where an idea comes in and then I'm up and I'm writing things down and I'm trying to get the action going for it and all that kind of stuff, but I don't even know if it's a great idea or not because
Right.
it's late at night and I don't know if I'm thinking straight.
Well, yeah. Well, and then there's just so much from that point forward. There's so I'll work folks through like strategies and obstacles and things of that nature as well.
Mm-hmm.
Mostly when we're dealing with ideas in career and school. When you're dealing with relationships, we do focus on strategies and
Mm-hmm.
obstacles, but most of the time in relationships, it's 100% like we work on thoughts and that's what we work on.
Mm. Well, good. So you mentioned I like your analogy of actually sitting on the bench with somebody and going over the playbook.
Mhm.
Um, I guess how does that work out when trying to define, you define their passion, all that kind of stuff, but then how do you define those goals?
How do we define their goals
Their
once we've
goals,
seen it
hmm,
all?
right?
So we go in and we start pulling out the different thoughts or ideas that they have. And I start speaking to them and asking them questions about these thoughts. I start asking them how they feel when they think different thoughts. And I also think of my work like a fitting room, right?
Mm,
We try on different thoughts like they're clothes. And then we kind of look at it, we walk around in it, move around in it, and we're like, yeah, that's not going to work.
mm-hmm.
Or we're like, heck yes, this is it. Right.
Yeah.
So that's how I think about thoughts. So we try on a couple of them. Some of them may come from the client, some of them may be offered up by me. But at the end of the day, it's 100% their mind that they're managing. And so they have to be the one who's in love with the thought that we land on, right? So that's how we start picking it out, is seeing what seems and feels true to them. And then we move forward, because you can't get energy from a thought that's not yours.
Right.
Too many people, entrepreneurs, myself included,
Mm-hmm.
you and I, this is how we know each other,
Yeah.
right? Too many of us are like, oh, this person's making money in this realm and this is how they did it. So I'm going to do it just like they did it.
Right.
There's value behind that. I'm 100% like, there's value behind it. But what we miss is why.
Right.
Why are we interested in that? And is our why as strong as it needs to be to get where that person is?
Right. And I think a lot of times, like when I first started out in business, the why was, oh, I want to make a lot of money. But really, when I started digging down into the why, it's, well, I want to support my family. I want to give them a good living. I want to give them security. And so
Yeah.
those whys are a lot more powerful than just making money or anything like
Yeah.
that. So,
Yeah, making money is super fun and it's a really fun side effect and I love it. I think it's a blast.
mhm.
But you're right. That's not a deep enough why.
hmm
That's just the side effect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's funny because it goes back into my main background for the last number of years had been in quality management systems for aerospace companies. And when you're
Mhm.
doing, trying to find root cause analysis of why something failed within the process, something missed inspection, there's a whole bunch of reasons. You have to go down what's called the five whys. And you ask the
Mm.
why five times is, well, why didn't this person check it? Well, why weren't
Yeah.
they trained? Why didn't they do this? Why wasn't there a second check? And you start diving further down into the real root cause of why something failed. But then I think we could do that to our own selves. And why is this a passion for me? Well, and then go down
Totally.
that path again.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
100%.
So what, I guess when setting goals with somebody, what would you recommend? Uh, I guess what are your points for setting goals with somebody when they set those
Um,
goals?
there's a lot to it. I have to be sure that the person understands that they have to take responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
How old were we when we realized, whoa, today I'm here right now because of every choice I've made, and I'm 100% responsible for where I am now, how much money I make, the house I live in, all the things, the relationships I have. That's my responsibility.
Mm.
So that's actually step one. So I really talk people through that kind of a thing. Be sure that they know that sort of a thing. It's way in depth, but that's kind of scratching the surface
Scratching the
for you.
surface.
And then we get into a lot of feeling stuff. It's not like touchy feely stuff, but you really have to be aware of what drives you. So, like, for example, if you're depressed at work, you're going to create a different result than if you have a positive mindset.
Mm-hmm.
So, think about being diligent at work. What are you going to create with diligent versus depressed, right?
Mm.
So, getting in touch with the feelings that drive people, and knowing what's going to really speak. You'd be surprised when you start talking to people, you're like, oh, that's the feeling that drives you. I mean, I'll tell you what, like, it's so funny. I have one, and I think it's so fascinating. One client that I can think of, and she is just so excited when you tell her she's creative. And I think that's so fascinating. I'm like, okay, whatever gets you excited. So anyway, we get into the feelings and what drives people.
mm-hmm.
And then we start asking, what is your thinking foundation? So a lot of people don't even know what their beliefs are,
Interesting.
right? So we get to the thinking foundation, we break that open. So as you can imagine, as I'm talking, this is not a one and done kind of thing. We really work and we
Yeah.
get some major results.
Yep.
But so we're looking at the foundation. We start looking at like what their most common thoughts are when it comes to work or relationships or desired future or school. What do those thoughts create? Do they fuel or do they take you out of that?
Mm-hmm.
Um, do they fuel you to do the work that you want to, or take the action that you wanted to take to get your results? If we find out that that's not happening, that's when we start doing the transformation of their thinking, managing of their minds.
Uh,
Honestly, I think there's just a lot of us. I was this person, and there are times that I still am. we let our brains run around with scissors in their hands like a little
Absolutely.
2-year-old.
That is an awesome analogy. You're full of these awesome analogies. I love this.
And we don't really think anything of it. It's just anyway, I can go so deep into it because you can go to somebody and get validation for the way you're thinking,
Hmm.
but we're all running around with scissors in our hands, right? When we can, and I'm gonna get into it, you're like, what does that mean? But you and I can get together next time. We can go into that a lot more, and that's relationship
Okay.
making.
Let's say
So
that
I
again.
digress.
Let's say that again, just because we broke up a little bit there. Running
Oh,
around.
sorry about that.
No, you're good. So just again, where we're all running around with scissors in our hands.
Yeah, so, sometimes people will be like, well, I want to think this way, and I have friend Joe, friend Kevin, and friend Larry that'll agree with me, and so I must be right. And the reality is, well, friend Kevin, Larry, and Joe, or whatever I named them, they think the same way that you do because there's our culture isn't taught quite yet, in my opinion. This
Hmm.
is what I see, and am a part of that. That we don't use mature thinking a lot of the time. We're
Hmm.
like, oh, that person said that mean thing to you. They're awful. You should hate them. I'm on your team.
Yeah.
Instead
Yeah.
of really, anyway. So, like I said,
It's very
that's,
high school mentality, and
yeah,
it's amazing, with some of the companies I've worked with, it's amazing how none of us have really left high school yet. And
yeah,
so it's kind of that whole cliquish mentality.
yeah. And I'm guilty of it myself at times
Oh yeah,
too.
me too.
We all jump in and out of it. I'd love to get to a point where I don't. It's not my reality yet, but it's really cool to think that I could get there and we all could get there.
Yeah.
So, but I'll go back to goal setting. So, we transform their thinking, we get their thinking foundation, the base, and then we set the goals. A lot of people set goals and they just break them
Right.
even faster than they set them
Yep.
because they're not doing the work, right?
Hmm.
So I did this for many years. I listened to Tony Robbins, Jim Rohn, Zig Ziglar, all these people. And I'm like, oh, that's so awesome. Oh, that's so awesome. And I would just listen and I just listen and I just
Hmm.
listen. And I give this analogy to folks all the time where you can watch P90X
Oh
for
yeah.
6 weeks straight and sit on the couch and eat your chips and just watch P90X. By the end of that 6 weeks, you're going to know all the cues. You're going to know what every stance is, what every exercise is to the T. But are you going to have a six-pack ab? Are you going to have lost any weight? Are you going to have increased any of your cardiovascular ability? The answer
Yeah.
is no.
No.
And why is that? Because you didn't do the work. You
Right.
didn't do the physical work. And I tell you, it's the same for mental work,
Mm.
for getting prepared mentally for life. If you're not writing it down every single day, whether it's your goals, whether it's your I am statements, some people call them affirmations.
Hmm.
If
Hmm.
you're not writing that down, if you're not downloading your brain and seeing what's going on, if you're not being coached by somebody and being able to see the holes and the errors in your thinking,
Right.
then you're going to just be the one sitting on the couch, or maybe you sit on the couch and lift a leg every now and like it's kind of just halfway there. It's fine. You can do it.
Right.
It's
Right. The older I
just
get, though, the
halfway
more
there.
sore I get from getting up off the couch. So,
That's right. So then that becomes the work.
yeah, that's the work right there.
That's the work. So what I'm getting at is you must change your beliefs and you must change your actions. So we recognize how we're programmed. We find a way to reprogram. Basically, I train people that your brain is made to look for evidence of what you currently think and
Hmm.
create a reality around that thinking. So, for example, like if you think the thought, this project is going to fail,
Mm.
you will find ways, your brain will find
Yep.
ways that it will fail, and watch how you create the evidence through your actions to fail. So a
Wow.
lot of people don't even see this in themselves. We've all seen that person. Maybe it's us and we didn't see it, but we can all see that other person
Right.
who has been so self sabotaging. And you're just thinking, wow, I can see this clearly. Why can't you see that you are causing your own problem, right?
Exactly.
So some people don't even see it in themselves, and that's why they keep getting what they've always gotten, and they're frustrated with the outcome.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think I've definitely told myself subconsciously or even straight out, yeah, this is going to fail.
right? And if you think that way, you are correct. I love that saying. I've always said it my whole life, and I just believe it in a different way now. I think it was Teddy Roosevelt or his wife that said, if you think you can't,
Or you
you're
can,
right.
right? Whether you think you
Yeah.
can or you can't, you're right.
Yeah. Who says that?
I have
I
no
can never
idea. That is
remember.
like one of those. I think it is like
Somebody
Confucius
cool.
or or
Yeah.
unknown.
Somebody amazing. Somebody said it when it was amazing, and it makes a ton of sense still today. So,
Right.
but anyway, I mean, like, think about the last time you set a goal that you didn't reach.
Mm-hmm.
Think about the thoughts that you had about the goal, and then evaluate the results that you actually got. Did they match 100%?
Right now.
Well, actually, they do. So if you think it's going to fail, you're going to have a result of
Oh, I
failure.
guess that's true. That's true.
Yeah. If they don't match, if you're like, oh my gosh, I believed it so much and I just didn't lose the weight, I didn't get the girlfriend, like whatever the thing was, I believed it so much,
Yeah.
you're actually not, you haven't landed on the real thought.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Because they always 100% match.
Really.
Yep. This
Yeah.
is why I believe that you can achieve anything you put your mind to,
Mm-hmm.
but you have to get really clear about where your mind is.
And so, do you sit down with people to help them clear that out? Because I think
Yep.
for me, my mind is all over the place,
Yeah.
and clearing that out is a little bit difficult. Even if I try to bounce ideas off, and again, I guess it's with my inner circle. I'm
Mm-hmm.
bouncing ideas off people, but they're just like I am. And so, if I think
Mm-hmm.
it's a great idea, they think it's a great idea. And
Yeah.
so,
And they could be right. But you gotta know what and you gotta know your why.
mm,
Why is key.
got it.
So I ask people, how do you feel when you imagine your goal or your outcome? Um, so the emotion that drives our actions will ultimately determine our results. So if you believe like, if you're like, I just want to make $1 million, but you are not the person that's making, like, if you are not today becoming the person, living as the person who's making $1 million, you're never going to get there.
Interesting. Yeah.
So this is what I get them in a new skin, right? So I'm doing this with myself and it's awesome. I love it. Um, you just get yourself to, because we all think that we're getting to this happiness goal, that there's like some string line and we're going to run through it and then we're just happy forever. Once we
Right.
hit a certain weight, we have this certain relationship, we make this certain amount of money, right? And
Absolutely.
we think at that point, then we will be worthy, we will be happy, we will this. If you are not happy now, and you hear people say this, if you're not happy now, you're not going to be happy then. You will continue to look for the next thing. Because I'll
Yep.
tell you right now, I've reached the mark of making $1 million.
Wow.
And I thought, when I reached that mark, I'm just happy. And the thing is, I arrived with me. I'm still me. Nothing changed. Do you know what I mean? And so it's just, it's really important to become now, wherever you are, with whatever you have, you become who you want to be
Mm.
now. And then life creates itself around you. Really. Well,
Wow.
I mean, I
Yeah.
guess, to be completely clear, you create life around you. It happens
Right.
because you will have nothing less. You will be nothing different than what you believe to be or believe yourself to be, right?
Oh yeah, and I definitely am a huge believer in like the law of attraction. If you
Yeah.
become, what you're describing, this new skin, you start to attract a new, a whole new life really. And it doesn't always mean you have to get new friends or anything like that, but you start attracting people who will support that new being or new creature you've become.
Right. Totally.
Very cool.
So the purpose is not to be happier than we are today. We set goals because our purpose is to achieve or evolve, rather,
Mm-hmm.
into the best version of ourselves that's possible. So we're not getting happiness, we're just focused on evolving into our, I guess I was explaining it to a client of mine or a coach of mine. I was getting coached today. I want to be the best version of me. I'm not going to be better than, like, I'm worthy now,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Is important. I'm worthy now. I'm good now. I'm all the things now.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm so curious what my potential is. That that makes the difference. And goals
Absolutely.
help us, right?
Mm-hmm. Excellent. I love that. I love that. So, are there more points to goal setting?
Yeah. So I ask them to dream. We kind of go into this dream tank
Uh huh.
where they go beyond, because a lot of folks, they kind of get stuck into what they've always been told they can have
Mm-hmm.
or what they think is possible based on their people around them, not based on their own potential, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I teach them to dream bigger, and we just see just how big they can dream until it's kind of uncomfortable,
Mm.
actually. Then we go through the mentality. We talk about the abundance mentality. And I'll tell you, this is the work, really, is this mentality. I keep going back to that because I do a ton of work about their wants and their whys
Right.
and their original thinking and their beliefs. And we go there over and over again. We pull it out. And eventually, when you start seeing it all on the field, you see it as a bystander, like, well, why don't you make that pass? Because when you're
Right.
down in the field, that pass wasn't as easy. But if you're looking down as a bystander, it all looks easy.
Yeah.
The
Right.
running's not hard, right? It's a lot clearer when you just put it out there and you just have it there for you to visualize. So I teach them the
Wow.
mentality. I teach things like writing it down, thought
Mm-hmm.
downloads, all that kind of stuff. I teach them that they're going to come up against these sorts of obstacles of fear, doubt,
Yes.
disbelief, shame, all of
Yes.
it.
That's something I think we
What,
skip over a ton when we think
yeah,
about goals and plans and things like that. Obstacles.
yeah. What do I do when? Because not if,
Mm-hmm.
when I get the fear in the way. What am I going to do when the doubt comes in? It's going to
Right.
come.
Yeah. Absolutely. It
So,
always comes without fail.
yeah.
Yeah.
And most people try to reject it, resist it, but I teach people to just pull up a seat and let it sit next to you. Or even better yet, just let it flow through you and allow, because we deem things as positive or negative when
Mm-hmm.
really they're all just emotions
Right.
and they're all the human experience, and it's acceptable. And it's all essential, not is acceptable. It's essential. You can't have the good. You can't be excited about making $3 million if you don't know what it's like to grind to get there, right?
Right.
If you're just handed $3 million, yeah, you're happy, you're bouncing around, but we've all seen it happen. We've all seen those lottery winners go into bankruptcy,
Yep.
tons of depression, drugs, and all the things,
Absolutely. Yep.
simply because they think the money was what was going to get them there, and then it just didn't, and then they're really lost,
Right. Right. They
right?
they thought that once they achieved it, it was going to fix everything, but they're really just. I found that money is really an enhancer. It enhances or
Totally agree.
magnifies who you already are, and so if you want to make the 3 million, you better be the kind of person who can accept 3 million and not let it destroy you. And that's who you got to become
Totally.
first before you make it.
Well, tons of people make 3 million and it does destroy them.
Right.
We've all
Right.
seen that person too.
Yep.
So it happens and it can happen. People
Mm-hmm.
get money all the time. People that maybe you and I could agree that maybe they shouldn't. But um, so it's not the dollar amount. It's
Right.
the quality of life, and then it's the to me it's the journey. It's the
Mm.
journey.
Absolutely.
And if your journey is like, I'm going to ignore family, I'm going to ignore everything, I'm not going to eat anything but ramen
Yeah.
noodles for 10 years, like, what's the point?
Right.
What is the point? Like, live a rich life and then get there.
Right.
And it can be fast, it can be slow. I don't know. We
Wow.
can get there, you
That's
know?
amazing. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's great. mentality, abundance mentality. I like that.
Yeah.
All right. Very good. So, was there anything else in the goal setting that you wanted to talk about too?
That's pretty much
That's
it.
good.
I mean,
That's more. I'm
obviously
going to
there's
be studying that for quite a while now because that just blew my mind.
oh good.
So I want to kind of jump from here and then talk a little bit about your coaching because it sounds amazing. Uh,
Oh,
and
great.
and so because I'm just sitting here going, I'm just writing all these notes down. I'm just like, oh my gosh, I need to get this as much as I can right now. And so, but yeah, we were talking a little bit about your business, and so I'm going to
Yeah.
pull up your website here just real quick so that people can kind of see exactly what it looks like. So why don't you tell me
Mhm.
a little bit about your coaching business?
It's pretty straightforward. Those who want to get started with me, I don't want to coach somebody who doesn't trust me or is totally bought into it all. I'm not interested in that. I don't
Hmm.
need it. So I always offer a free 20-minute session with me to see if we're a good fit because I don't believe that I'm a good fit for everybody. And I don't think I'm supposed to be. And there's a ton of life coaches out there. If I'm not the fit, I'm totally happy to refer people to others. But they're welcome to come in, have a free 20-minute session with me. Um, I know I have had very few times that I say, I actually can't help you. And I'll be straightforward and honest. If it's beyond what I know I can do, I'm going to help that person find something to help them. So coaching looks like that. We get together 20 minutes, see if we're a match, move forward into whatever plan they want to jump into. I have a lot of different options. I'm always coming up with more. I'm on the road to be where you are. I'll be doing a podcast. So that'll just be an offering that I give to people because I just love this. I
Hmm.
love this work. It's changed my life. So I want to offer that up. I'll be doing, I guarantee you, classes and things of that nature pretty
Awesome.
soon here. But for now, it's the one on one and group coaching and sessions that people can get into. They can choose, we can choose together what works best for them.
Right. Right.
Yep.
Amazing. I think your website looks amazing, by the way. Looks
Oh,
really
thanks.
good.
It's a work in progress.
They always are, I've been
Yeah.
building websites for a long time and it's constantly changing, constantly.
Well, hey, I think I'll probably connect up with you. I'll coach you. You help me get my website done, and we're all going to
Deal.
be super
Absolute deal.
amazing.
That I think I'm going to get the better end of that one.
I
Very
love
good.
it.
Well, hey, thank you very much, Darby. I appreciate you
Yeah.
being on the show today. For those who are watching online, we actually have the website is darbybcoaching.com for that, and I'll leave that in the show notes so people can just click on that where they're watching or where they're listening. Thank you again very much, Darby, for your time, for your expertise. I think you dropped a lot of knowledge that definitely helped me out, and I know
Aw,
I know a number of people who find value in that. So thank you.
you're very welcome. It was my pleasure.
All right. Thank you very much. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Bye.
Bye.